The greatest billionaire assault on election integrity we've ever seen.
It was a partial takeover of the election system.
You had an entire Democratic Party petrified.
We can look straight in the eye at Mark Zuckerberg. That's why Joe Biden won.
He's putting money under the guise that he's going to open up the election. That's all crap.
Rigged. Now playing.
It was a rigged election. People have to find out what happened.
Too much fun. Peter K. Navarro in for Stephen K. Bannon. I happened to be down at Mar-a-Lago watching the debut of the film there, right in the iconic ballroom. President Trump was there. Bossie was there. And this is a movie that you will want to see. It reveals the evidence about the corrupt legacy media. We're all paying the price. You got people like Ted Cruz, Newt Gingrich, all sorts of top conservatives. Here's the way you get it. It's rigged2020.com. That's rigged2020.com. So take a look. Bossie is actually plays. He has a nice cameo in my new book, Taking Back Trump's America, which just came out for pre-order on Amazon. And I mentioned the book because it's one of the things it does is it's basically a blueprint for taking back the White House for Donald Trump in 2024. But one of the key recommendations of Taking Back Trump's America is that this has to start with taking back the House of Representatives in 2022. And I'm not talking the book. I don't talk about taking back the House for Republicans. I talk about taking it back for Trump Republicans. I want nothing to do with Kevin McCarthy Republicans. I want nothing to do with Mitch McConnell Republicans. I want nothing to do with Fox News Karl Rove Republicans. What we need are Trump Republicans. And there's a number of races I've been following very closely, doing everything I can. And in one of the ones we're going to talk about right off the bat is in South Carolina. And it pits this woman named Nancy Mace, who voted to impeach Trump, a Republican who voted to impeach Trump, who's endorsed by Mick Mulvaney, the former chief of staff of Trump, a guy who I never got along with. And by the way, in the book, Taking Back Trump's America, I lay that all out along with Mulvaney like he's a filleted fish. Mulvaney is bad friggin' news. He's supporting Nancy Mace. Katie Arrington is Trump endorsed, and she's a woman that I know well because when I was in the middle of the pandemic, the worst days of the pandemic, going over to the Department of Health and Human Services, trying to we had these big meetings with the Pentagon and others, trying to get them to be able to produce the masks, the gloves, the goggles, all the PPE we needed. Okay. The Pentagon inevitably was given trouble, and Katie Arrington was the warrior. She was the one I could always count on to fight, to push forward the MAGA agenda, the Buy American agenda, the Trump America agenda. So let's first hear Katie's clip if you can. Play that ad and we'll bring Katie right in to talk about the state of the race.
We're here at the Save America rally asking people, who said it, Nancy Mace or Nancy Pelosi? All right, who said Trump's entire legacy was wiped out by January 6th?
Pelosi.
It was Nancy Mace. Yeah, no kidding. Who took to the House floor to complain about pandas? Nancy Mace or Nancy Pelosi?
That's real liberal, so definitely Pelosi.
It was Nancy Mace! Yeah, I know! Who sponsored a bill to legalize marijuana?
Mace?
That's right, it was Nancy Mace. Is she high? I don't know. Who said, I don't need Trump's support to win?
Pelosi, she doesn't like Trump.
Neither does Nancy Mace! Oh!
She's a terrible person, and she has no idea what she's doing, Nancy Mace.
Oh, Katie. Come on in, Katie. Tell us how you got that one made. That's brilliant. And how's the race going?
So the race is going well, and Peter, good to see you as always. The race is going well as always. I need help from the Bannon Warriors. That commercial we actually filmed at the Florence rally when President Trump came in this past March, and it was the coldest day that we've ever had in South Carolina in March. We froze, but 50,000 people waited outside for 12 hours to see Donald J. Trump speak, and he set the tone. Nancy Mace is an absolute horrible candidate. She is one of the worst offenders of using the Trump name, and then as soon as she got into Congress, after he endorsed her and drug her across the finish line in 2020, she turned her back, stabbed him in the back, and went right after him, blamed him for January 6th. She voted to certify the elections, and she's one of the ones that subpoenaed Steve Bannon, voted to do that. She is absolutely the worst candidate possible.
Nancy, whoa, buried the lead there. Nancy Mace voted to subpoena Stephen K. Bannon for kid.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Oh,
yeah.
And I watched it from the Pentagon, and she's running around. It's America first. The Trump policies are what this nation needs so desperately right now. And this woman has the unmitigated gall to walk around and talk about legalizing marijuana as a priority for the nation when we have an energy crisis, we have a supply chain crisis. And Peter, you and I both know the supply chain crisis that's going on right now. It is totally manufactured by the Biden policies. It does not need to be happening. It's only happening because people like Nancy Mace voted to certify the election. They turned their back on Donald J. Trump, and this is what we have. And that's why we need to send me to Washington to make sure.
Katie Arrington needs to go to Washington. She's Trump-backed. Mace, I see her popping up on TV. Am I seeing her? Where am I seeing her? Fox, CNN, where? Where's she be?
Oh, yeah. Oh, she'd be everywhere that they let her be. I mean, she'd take airtime from a dead person if they'd let her.
See, this is what bothers me. Like Fox is giving her all sorts of airtime. I see her on Fox, right? Am I wrong there?
Oh, yeah. But remember who's on the board of Fox.
But they won't put you on.
Nope. And in
who's
fact,
that?
Paul Ryan, right? You got to remember who's on the board of Fox News, right? The Rhino Ryan. He doesn't want me on there. And everything that Fox is doing right now is totally for the Rhino Party, right? And when I beat Mark Sanford, and that's probably one of my best moments, right? I changed the course of American history by running in the campaign and taking Mark Sanford out, because he would have voted after Mick Mulvaney screwed up to impeach Donald J. Trump. And I took him out in the primary. Therefore, there were no Republicans that voted to impeach Donald J. Trump. Thank God. And we have to send people like me back up there who are going to stand up. But Paul Ryan, he was backing Mark Sanford the whole time. Of course he's backing Nancy Mace. He's a rhino. That's what he wants.
What's a day in the life of the Arrington campaign? How's that go? And when's the primary?
June 14th. So I need the War Room Warriors to get out, and I need you to donate today. My website is katie4sc.com. That's Katie, FORSC.com. My primary is June 14th. Nancy Mace is bought and paid for by the swamp. They don't want her, out. They love having a voice, that they can, buy the ticket, buy the bill. And I need all the help I can get from the War Room Warriors to help me oust her. And Peter, I can't wait to get your book and read it. And I'm sure that the chapter on Mick Mulvaney will keep me very, very entertained. As we both know,
more than one chapter on that Grundoon. He was a bad dude. Here's the thing that I want the people to say. I want to talk directly now to the people of South Carolina, because Mulvaney some of them might still consider him a favorite son. He is a never Trumper. He was always a never Trumper. And the battles, he's like the standard traditional conservatives. Like Trump, he supported tax cuts, deregulation. All of that was fine. But when you got down to issues like Buy American, or fair trade, Mulvaney was always on the other side of me. And I'd have to fight that guy time and time again. And he was the guy before he was the acting chief of staff, and he was like awful at that. He was the head of the Office of Management and Budget. I try to do like a Buy American executive order, right, for the boss. It's like President Trump's two simple rules: buy American, hire American. Pete, go do this. So I'd go do it, and then I'd have an executive order come back from Mulvaney's OMB full of comments like, "Oh, this is going to cost more." No kidding, Mick. That's the point. We've got to buy American here so we can create jobs here. And by the way, it doesn't cost that much more over time because you bring the jobs back. So anybody who in South Carolina, in that district, and it's a beautiful district, if you see that Mulvaney has endorsed Nancy Mace, who voted to impeach Trump and filed contempt charges against Stephen K. Bannon, know that Mulvaney was also a never Trumper. He was a fifth column inside the White House. Okay, Katie, give us your coordinates one last time, and then we'll let you get back out on the campaign trail. And you'll be back here before that primary, and you'll keep us up to date.
So my website again is katie4sd.com, katieforsd.com. And Peter, can't wait to read the book. It was wonderful to serve with you under President Trump. I can't wait to do it again in 2024.
All right. Like Harry Truman, give him hell.
I will, sir.
All
Take
right.
care. God bless you.
Take care. You too. All right. Now, another race that I'm avidly following, and this one is likewise based from my direct knowledge of the individual. There's a guy named Alex Gray, right? He's running for Senate in the great state of Oklahoma. And he is a guy who I met back during the Trump campaign in 2016. And he was a guy who I actually helped get in to the Trump campaign, into Trump Tower. A little funny story there. It's like, we got him a job to run to run the Asia desk for policy during the Trump campaign in 2016. And the funny part is, yeah, it was a desk of one. That's how lean and mean we were. And then Alex came to work for me as my deputy. Did a great job running Buy American stuff. Did a great job on the defense industrial base. We did, I think, what will be the definitive report on resurrecting the defense industrial base in America. And then, as I like to joke, Alex left my office in a lateral move. That's the joke, to go and be the chief of staff for Robert O'Brien in the National Security Council. So if we have the first thing, let's pull up, if you can, the chart. Which shows where Alex is in the race. And I don't know if you can zoom that a little bit. But what we have here is this is kind of fun. It's like, this is like, there's a market out there. There's markets for everything, right? And what this shows is how the market is valuing the candidates in the race, right? And what there's a front runner. I'm not even going to mention his name because I don't like to do that. But what's interesting is that Alex is now in second place based on the implicit polling, where people are putting their money. Now, this is important for a couple of reasons. Alex Gray, make no mistake about this, of all the candidates in the race, he's the only true MAGA guy. Okay. He was there with President Trump. He understands the policies. He supports the policies. If he gets in the Senate, he will conduct the policies. We don't have to worry about him stabbing us in the back like so many of these politicians do. And so the game afoot here is not necessarily for Alex to win this primary, but simply to be part of the top two vote getters in a race where nobody gets 50%. And what's interesting about Alex being in second place right now is he started from virtually nowhere and he's moving up. And this is kind of a J.D. Vance kind of like move in the sense. So if we can now, let's pull in his ad and play that if you can, and then we'll bring in the candidate himself to talk a little bit about where things are at. Can we get that ad up?
I sat next to President Trump during one of the most important counterterrorism operations of the last decade. President Trump was getting advice from everyone that night: generals, cabinet secretaries, myself. He listened to the advice, and he made an incredibly difficult decision. That night, on President Trump's order, we eliminated one of the world's most dangerous terrorists.
Last night was the time that we needed to strike to make sure that this imminent attack that he was working actively was disrupted.
Precision strike that killed the number one terrorist anywhere in the world.
When some of his other advisors told him it wasn't worth the risk, President Trump knew instinctively it was the right call to protect the American people. And he took that risk because Donald Trump put America first in everything he did. Now, just a year and a half after Trump's presidency, Americans are in more danger than ever. After serving as chief of staff of the National Security Council, I came home to Oklahoma. I never wanted to go back to D.C. My life's here in Oklahoma. But with the weakest leadership in the White House this country has ever seen,
Sorry.
Americans are in more danger than ever. I knew what I had to do.
Alex Gray for United States Senate.
I got to get that voice. Alex Gray for United States Senate. All right, let's bring in the man himself. Alex, last time I saw you was just a few weeks ago. You came on the set live when I was guesting for Steve, and you just seen the president at Mar-a-Lago. Where have we gone since then? What's new in the race? It's good to see you now in second place. And can you explain this idea of it's a primary that's going to have a runoff if need be?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Peter. And it was great to see President Trump and have a few minutes of his time, and obviously to talk to him about why I'm the America First candidate in this race. And I've been with him like you from the beginning, was there with him till the very last day. And as I'm explaining that to people of Oklahoma, it's becoming clear that there really is one America First candidate. There's one candidate who stands with the Trump agenda, who talks about election fraud, not just when they think President Trump's listening, but talks about it because it's a fact and it's a problem. One candidate who talks about fair trade, one candidate who talks about all of these issues, and that's starting to catch on with voters. But we had our first debate this week. It was a debate that was national security themed. And obviously, I've spent my career working on national security. And I think the contrast between candidates who are just normal DC politicians who've never had to be in a position to work on those types of issues, who've never had to put up or shut up, who say they're with Donald Trump because it's popular in Oklahoma, and someone who put their career on the line, who stood with the president when the DC swamp had a knife out for me. That contrast is starting to resonate with the people of this great state.
What's a day in the life of Alex Gray? How much time do you have to spend on the thing I hated least in politics was raising money versus knocking on doors versus candidate forums? And when's the next candidate forum?
So we have another candidate forum next week. We're going to talk about energy policy. We have some more. We have a primary on June 28th, like you mentioned, Peter. We're going to be doing candidate forums throughout the next couple weeks. Like you said, if you got to get into second place, that's really the key here. And that's what my position has been. Get me in second place, and I will paint a contrast to the real America First candidate with the current frontrunner, Congressman Mullen. And we can look at each other's records. We can look at where each other have been on standing with the America First movement, and that's a contrast I want to have. And right now, I think as you see from the betting odds and some of the polling, the momentum is on the side of this campaign. You look at who's endorsed me; it's the president's most loyal supporters. Keith Kellogg, Robert O'Brien, Kash Patel, Chris Miller, Senator Mike Lee, the people who the president actually trusted, who know him best and who worked with me closely every day of the Trump administration. And that's what we're going to have. If I'm in the runoff, it's going to be the real America First candidate versus someone who supports Trump when it's popular.
Who's backing the other guys? Any sign of the Mitch McConnell money in this race?
Well, we haven't seen that yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if it happens, Peter, because I haven't been shy about saying that I'm going to be looking for new in the Senate, and I think leadership that stands with Donald Trump, leadership that stands with the American movement, and I haven't been shy about saying that. So I understand that that's a politically risky thing to do, and I'm not afraid to do it. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens at some point.
I watched your ad. I forgot that you were the chief of staff for Robert O'Brien. For those watching this show, O'Brien was what I called the fourth time's the charm. He was the national security advisor that took over for Bolton. I mean, we had a tragedy when Mike Flynn got Russia hoaxed. I think he would have been great, but he only lasted literally a few days. And then we had the circus of H.R. McMaster and then John Bolton, book deal Bolton. But O'Brien, I forgot. And there's an iconic picture of Robert sitting there with President Trump in the Situation Room when they took out that terrorist that you talk about in the ad. Can you talk a little bit about what was happening on your end to assist Robert at the time?
Well, Peter, as you know, being involved in a lot of these national security sensitive missions and from the trade and the manufacturing standpoint, these are incredibly complicated operations. President Trump was the most intuitive, the most naturally fluid president you could imagine. For someone who'd never worked on these issues, he had such an incredible grasp of instinctively of what we had to do. And when we were dealing with the al-Baghdadi raid, the Soleimani strike, so many of these consequential moments, Donald Trump didn't need staffing, really. I mean, he didn't need to be prepped on what to do. This is a guy who had the generals in the intelligence community constantly telling him he was wrong, constantly telling him what he should be doing. I remember the night of the Soleimani strike, you had numerous folks who are telling now, many of whom who take credit for the strike, telling him it was too dangerous. You can't go out and you can't take Soleimani off the battlefield. And Donald Trump didn't even hesitate. He knew instinctively that that's what we had to do, and he gave the order without flinching. And of course, that's the type of leadership that's made him one of the greatest presidents we've ever had, and why we so desperately need him back in Washington.
And for the viewers here, just to remind you, Soleimani, in many ways, was more deadly than Osama bin Laden, because it was Soleimani who perfected what they call the IEDs, the improvised explosive devices. He came up with an IED that used a special technology that could, with molten copper, cut through the armor of American armored vehicles. And there was so many, not just lives lost because of Soleimani, but also limbs lost of Americans. And I was up at Walter Reed on more than one occasion where I saw American soldiers losing 1, 2, 3 limbs in their recovery. And this was a bad dude, and Alex Gray was there. Alex, what I see here, which heartens me about your race, is I see kind of a J.D. Vance scenario. People already are forgetting that J.D. Vance campaigned for a relatively long time before Trump endorsed him, and what J.D. Vance was able to do on his own with the MAGA message, with your message, was to steadily gain ground as you are doing. So I hope this J.D. Vance scenario continues to unfold, and that President Trump will eventually endorse you. I'll give you the last word here. If you can, just remind people how they can support you. If we got any deplorables out there in the great state, Oklahoma want to get involved in this, please reach out to Alex. I can't speak more highly of him from personal and professional experience. So go ahead, Alex. You got about 60 seconds. It's yours. Did we lose it? Okay. So let's see if we can get Alex back real quick. But in the meantime, give you a preview of what's coming up. You back? All right, Alex, go ahead. Sorry for that.
Hey, Peter, we've got my opponents more special interest money than you can possibly imagine. We need all the support we can get. Alex Gray for FOR Oklahoma.com, and we need AlexGray4Senate.com. We need as much help as we can get. This is a real opportunity to put not just a America First conservative in the Senate, but someone who stood with Donald Trump from the Trump Tower till his last day in the White House. I said goodbye to him on Marine One and walked out of the West Wing. You will have an absolute MAGA warrior in the Senate, and I would be honored to have the vote of every Oklahoman.
All right, Alex Gray, for Senate in the great state of Oklahoma. Support this man. He is the Trump candidate, at least in my view. And let's get it done. Alex, good luck to you. We'll have you back before the primary. Peter K. Navarro in for Stephen K. Bannon. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
War Room Battleground with Stephen K. Bannon.
Battleground indeed. Peter K. Navarro in for Stephen K. Bannon today. And my next guest, I really couldn't be more pleased that she's in this race, that she already has President Trump's strong endorsement. And this is a race that really is near and dear to my heart. There's three races out there for Secretary of State that I'm watching very closely. One is the Trump-backed candidate Jody Hice in Georgia. In Arizona, Mark Finchem. He'll be on shortly. But this one in Michigan with Kristina Karamo, we're going to bring on in a second, is really, really important because Michigan is a cesspool of election fraud and irregularities, just an absolute cesspool. It's something that I wrote extensively about in the In Trump Time book. There's a whole chapter there on how George Soros, basically going back years, did his so-called Secretary of State project. And the idea was for Soros to elect puppet Democrats who would then go in and rig the elections on behalf of Democrat presidential candidates. That was an explicit playbook. And Jocelyn Benson, as I have documented, was just such a person. And she basically broke the law willfully, was caught by the courts, got her wrist slapped. That didn't change the outcome in Michigan. And now she not only has the audacity to be running for re-election, she's got, no surprise here, the corporate media fawning all over her. Jocelyn Benson. This woman is poison. Well, we have, as a candidate, taking Jocelyn Benson on, and God bless her, Kristina Karamo. Let's see her clip first, and then we're going to bring her in, and she's going to tell us all about the race.
Benson, in a couple of weeks, you will be awarded the JFK Profile and Courage Award on a list that includes President Zelensky of Ukraine, Liz Cheney, among others. It's pretty good company for your efforts to defend the results of the 2020 election, which you had to do again and again and again. Recounts of the vote, recertification, defending this in court. What has that fight been like for you? And are you confident that the vote is secure even this fall in 2022?
Well, yes, I am. I think the first unequivocal thing to know is that we had a successful election in Michigan in 2020. More people voted than ever before. It was safe, it was secure. People were able to vote, and things went smoothly, and it withstood enormous scrutiny because the evidence unequivocally showed that our procedures were secure and the results were an accurate reflection of the will of the people. Nevertheless,
not the clip I wanted, but I actually wanted that clip as well, because that's how the corporate mainstream media basically turns these criminals into angels, right? That was Benson herself. I'm trying to get Kristina's clip up. In the meantime, let's bring in Kristina right now. Kristina, so happy to have you on War Room Battleground. Tell us a little bit about yourself, why you're running, and how the race is going.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, Peter. And thank you for your report you did right after the election, which I did read, and it was very extensive and very helpful. Yeah, so I am a college professor. I'm just a regular citizen. I'm not a person who was looking for the spotlight. I mean, I'm active in the Republican Party, and I was a spokeswoman for my county party, but I just was an activist, and I have a master's in Christian apologetics, and that was it. I just wanted to be a citizen who voiced my concerns and pushed for change. However, after I volunteered during the 2020 election and I personally witnessed illegal activity, and what's so funny is when I recount the story at the adjudication table, when I saw an illegal ballot counted for Joe Biden and an illegal straight party ticket vote for the Democrats, now that I'm the Republican endorsed candidate, I'm the official nominee, and I'll be going up against Jocelyn Benson in November. Now the media is coming out and they want to interview the guy who was overseeing the TCF Center, who wasn't there at the incident. He wasn't around, but yet, according to him, it didn't happen the way I said it did. And so his word is gospel, even though he wasn't there at the event in question. So this is what, to your point, this is what you're talking about. It wasn't just the massive corruption. It was the massive cover-up that allowed it to continue. And the American people are being gaslit at such a high level. Because the thing about it, it's not as though I'm just this one lone individual who saw something illegal. No, it was tons of people. And then the 2,000 Mules clip, I mean, come on. Joe Biden literally said, we have the most extensive voter fraud organization in America, in the history of American politics. I mean, for that not to make people go, well, wait a second, and that to be a quote unquote gaffe, I think the American people need to wake up and see how dangerous it is. This is an absolute attack on our republic. This is not about politics. This is about the survival of our nation. This is about whether or not we inherit tyranny or freedom. And as we've done events across the state, there are so many citizens organizations that have grown out of this fight, who on their own in Michigan have found so many errors and issues. And then our Marxist Attorney General, Dana Nessel, wants to threaten to criminally investigate people alleging fraud in the election. Now, I need people just to step back for a second and ask yourself, why would the Attorney General of a state want to criminally investigate citizens who just complained about government corruption? We're not talking about people who threaten acts of violence or try to harm anyone or engage in any illegal activity. We're talking about my constitutional right to redress grievances to my government. Our Attorney General wants to criminally investigate people for, and the media protects her. So this is dangerous time. So with all that being said, I'm running for Secretary of State because it's a national security issue, and Michigan is a battleground state. And you, like you said in your opening, George Soros had his Secretary of State project. Michigan's a battleground state. The seat of the presidency comes through Michigan. Jocelyn Benson, who's from Pennsylvania, who used to work for the Southern Poverty Law Center, was strategically picked and placed to be Michigan's Secretary of State. And so that's why I'm running.
Whoa. Hang on. She's originally from Pennsylvania?
Yes, she is not from Michigan.
Wow. Because here's what's interesting about that. Because the two secretaries of state who played such a bad role were Jocelyn Benson in Michigan. But who was the other one? There was Kathy Bookvar in the state of Pennsylvania. Of course, then you had Katie Hobbs in Arizona, but wow, that blows my mind that she was actually originated there. Oh. Have you had an opportunity yet to debate Benson? Will you have that opportunity?
Oh, I cannot wait to debate Jocelyn Benson because she's a habitual liar. And talking to habitual liars is so easy to debate them because they have to keep up with their lies. And then once you pick apart the lies, they struggle and she'll just fall apart. So no, I won the Republican endorsement convention with 67% of the vote 2 weeks ago. So we haven't had the opportunity yet to set it up, but I look forward to debating her. Absolutely. Because the things about it, there are so many things that just cannot be explained away. And what's interesting is that the way our media, who's a machine, they are a leftist machine designed to protect their corruption. Every time citizens bring evidence of a crime, they just go, oh, well, that was a clerical error. That was a mistake. That was a misunderstanding. Whenever citizens bring forward information showing that there could have even been, a gross mistake that led to something that disenfranchised the voter. Oh, it was not a big deal. That's just a one-off. Everything is a clerical error or a mistake or a one-off.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, we go, wait a minute, let me get Mark Zuckerberg dumping in $500 million to our election. Let me guess that was a one-off and a mistake. Or the surveillance footage of a woman signing ballot after ballot after ballot. And just to give people an indication how bad it was in Michigan. In Wayne County, when the case was brought up in Wayne County regarding election fraud, I believe it was Johnson v. Benson, and the affidavits that were used, the judge wouldn't even have an evidentiary hearing. He wouldn't even have the evidentiary hearing saying that the affidavits were not trustworthy. But here's where the story gets worse. One of the affidavits was from the former Secretary of State, who was Secretary of State for 8 years, and a former Assistant Attorney General. So you had the former Secretary of State and a former Assistant Attorney General. Also, their affidavits were used in the case, and you had the judge in Wayne County said that they're not credible affidavits. The former Secretary of State, like, this is unreal. And they threw out the case and wouldn't have evidentiary hearing.
If you get elected, Kristina, will you have the power as the Secretary of State to look more closely at what happened in the 2020 presidential election?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, as Secretary of State, you have the ability to investigate and cause investigations. And, for a lot of the let's move on crowd, what people don't understand, this is what people really don't understand, is that if these issues aren't dealt with, they're going to happen again. If someone gets away with a crime, what would make you think they would stop? That's just not even common sense. Yeah. Of course, people are going to do it. It's about the future of our state and nation. And if these individuals are allowed to get away with this, they're going to keep doing it and keep doing it. And I look at something. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, are you getting fair treatment in the media, both the local, like Detroit News, things like that, the local Fox affiliates and things like that? Are you able to get out there? Because it looks like they're trying to lionize Benson. How's that going? Were you having to push through?
Our local media, of course, they're always going to try to paint me as a crazy person, as a liar. Just recently, according to the Secretary of State, I didn't vote in the 2020 election. This is what according to their records up until recently, CNN contacted me making this claim. Someone I know contacted my local clerk. My local clerk claimed I received 6 absentee ballot applications but didn't vote. And I went and FOIA'd my application to vote. I have a friend who has a snapshot of the qualified voter file. And then my friend checked the qualified voter file and said, hey, according to the snapshot of the qualified voter file, it says you didn't vote. So then I turn around and of course, discussing this publicly. And of course, the media is saying, oh, that's not true. It was a clerical error because they forgot to update this system. And the thing about it is...
Trust me on this, Kristina. If that's the worst they can go after you on, you'll be okay. This will get dirty. It's like Michigan is like tough. By the way, control room, can you play the Karamo clip real quick? And then I want Kristina, you just tell us how people can send you money and get out in the grassroots, because this audience is awesome when it comes to that. So let's play the Karamo clip.
You hear it everywhere, in our streets, in our homes. The sound of patriots marching together with one goal, one purpose, one word on our lips. Enough. We've had enough of chaotic, unsecure elections. We've had enough of corrupt, incompetent leaders suppressing investigations of election fraud. We've had enough of those same corrupt officials demonizing citizens for wanting basic voters' rights. We are patriots. Our faith, our conscience, our sense of moral duty demands we confront this evil head on and restore rule of law to the state we love. Joining we the people in our fight, Kristina Karamo, the only candidate in this race endorsed by President Trump. Kristina Karamo saw the chaos and fear sown by Gretchen Whitmer's Secretary of State and knows Michigan deserves better.
Who does this woman think she is, that the people of Michigan don't have the right to question her? Who does this woman think she is, that the people of Michigan don't have the right to scrutinize the election process?
For Kristina Karamo, better means ensuring customer service at our Secretary of State branch offices with improved operational flow based on local needs, revamping handicapped accessibility services, providing fair compliance inspections of auto dealers and service facilities, and lowering fees for government services.
Last time I checked, according to my First Amendment rights, I have the right to redress my grievances to my government without being called an insurrectionist.
We are patriots. Our voices will not be silenced. Our cause will not be denied. And with Kristina Karamo leading us onward, we will emerge victorious.
Who do these people think they are? They work for us.
Our next Secretary of State, Kristina Karamo.
Amen to that, Kristina. You're great on the stump there. Tell the folks how they can get in touch with your campaign, if you would, and then we'll get you back on the campaign trail now.
Yeah, so they can go to my website, KristinaKaramo.com, and send any information. As you mentioned about being a grassroots candidate, I think it's really remarkable for a grassroots candidate to come out of convention successful. But the thing about it is, as you mentioned, it's fundraising. That's a big thing. And one of the things that's so important for people to realize, you don't have to be able to donate $5,000 or $7,000. I mean, I appreciate it, but if you got $50, $10, $5, that's how grassroots candidates win. No, we're not going to have, hundreds of billionaires pouring money into our campaign. But what we do have is the people who want to get behind and vote for us and support us. But that requires financial contribution. So we can't get upset at the George Soros of the world and the Bloombergs of the world if we're not going to financially support the candidates we want to win. Because ultimately, elections cost millions upon millions of dollars. And that's what we need to win. So I need the support of the people to get that done.
All right, Kristina. And you have the support of one person who is really keys to that kingdom, Donald John Trump, supporting Kristina Karamo for Secretary of State. Deplorables help this woman out. And good luck to you, Kristina. We'll get you back on the War Room well before the election. Take care of yourself.
All right. Take care. God bless.
All right. Navarro here, and we're going to go to another Secretary of State race. As I told you earlier, there's three I'm watching. It's Jody Hice in Georgia, Trump-backed. Got to get that away from the evil Raffensperger there. Kristina Karamo's got to beat Jocelyn Benson. And now let's bring in Mark Finchem. Mark's a War Room stalwart. Mark, what's the latest update from the campaign trail? Were they able to keep you off the ballot? How'd that one go?
Good evening, Peter. I'm actually at Rock the Red in South Carolina. We're getting ready to speak tomorrow on election integrity of all things. Well, the judge threw the case out. They tried to do a federal action in a state court. So it's not even a court of competent jurisdiction. However, 5 minutes later, they went to the Supreme Court with an appeal. So what this is an effort to do is to just try and drain us of campaign cash. It's lawfare. Yeah. And I hope that the courts penalize them for using the justice system for a political purpose. This is absolutely outrageous. And these are Marxists who have more money than sense, and they want to destroy the political process. I had 11,000 plus signatures on my petition to get me on the ballot. We only needed to have 7,300. They want to define how we do elections by taking people out before we ever have an opportunity to go through an election. And that's absolutely outrageous and despicable.
Let's, Mark, tell me about the race itself. Who you running against? It's Katie. Who you running against now, and why are you the better candidate?
Well, I'm polling at 15% with 70% undecided. Everybody else behind me in the primary is a single digit. So we're actually treating this like a general election. So you've got Adrian Fontes. He would be the guy who ran the 2020 election. And then you have a fellow by the name of Reginald Boulding, who the only card he has to play is the race card. Every time you talk about election integrity, it's racist. So neither one of them seem to be able to raise money. We closed out the last
these are
campaign
Republicans?
No. Those are Democrats.
This is a Republican primary? Okay.
There's a Republican primary, but we've got.
When's the election? When's the Republican primary? Let's start with that.
Well, the Republican primary is going to be August 2nd. But we're prosecuting this like a general election. We're already up in double digits. So we're going after the real target, and that's the Democrats. So we finished the campaign finance period with $1.12 million, which is way ahead of everybody else. And that combined with the polling, combined with the event that we just had with the president, we're feeling really good about this campaign. Lots of grassroots support. Every place I go, people are saying thank you for the ballot fraud countermeasures, for the audit trail, all of that stuff. That's on my agenda for the position of Secretary of State.
Are you seeing any sign as George Soros money in this time around?
Yeah, let's see. MoveOn.org formed up the Get Finchem PAC and has already put $1.4 million into it. Now, here's the funny part.
Yeah.
Everybody's saying, wow, they really don't like you. Well, no, I think that they see me as the threat because they didn't open a PAC against any of the other three in the Republican primary. And, of course, when they're already putting money into it and they're saying we're already spending money, not sure what they're doing with it, but it will be up to no good, I am sure.
Is it fair to say that Arizona is moving more and more red in the wake of this whole stolen election in Arizona?
I think that's incorrect, and I'm not accustomed to correcting you, Peter, but I don't think we ever went the other direction. We've been red. I mean, we've got 209,000 ballots. Yeah, we got 209,000 ballots.
By the way,
that were mail-in ballots that were never folded.
Do me a favor. You got 15 seconds because we're at the end of the show, and my bad. Give me your website, and we'll get you out of here. Quick.
All right. VoteFinchem.com. That's VoteFinchem, like Mark.com. We need your donations, whether it's Kristina or me or Jody. We've got to take these positions back. Thank you, Peter.
All right, let's do this for Mark. He's one of my heroes. We've been in the trenches now for well over a year with Mark Finchem for Secretary of State in Arizona. Check out my book, Taking Back Trump's America, on Amazon. War Room, let's drive that. It's taking back this country. Thank you. Peter Navarro, Steve, be back with you tomorrow morning.